Hi, everybody. I am Nicole Atniff, and I am so excited to be chatting with y'all about Back to Basics Bootcamp. I'm recording this in January of 2023, and that's important. The reason I'm talking about this and where this whole idea for this new program came from is because of what our community has experienced over the past couple of years, the highs, the lows, the ebbs, the flows, the dips that a lot of us are experiencing right now. That is where this program was born, to be totally honest. The idea behind this program, to start off, is really lying with its name of being back to basics. You hear that a lot in our industry and in Scentsy specifically about how we need to get back to basics. But what exactly does that mean? What exactly does that look like? What does getting back to basics as an outline? What are all the different steps? What's the foundation of that? What are the fundamentals? And why do we need to do them? So to give you a little bit of a background on me, I joined Scentsy in April of 2019. So I'm coming up on my 4-year anniversary when I record this. I promoted to director in 1 year. And in my first year, I earned Annual Sales of Excellence Award, which is 30,000 PRV in 1 year. Our date, I was going to say calendar year, but it's not a calendar. It goes from May until the end of April. And I also earned Annual Mentor that year, which is sponsoring and helping 14 people promote to certified consultant, which is your first promotion in Scentsy and getting $1,000 in sales. It was a huge year. It was an exciting year, and I worked very hard for it, but it was before the chaos of COVID, which I'll touch on that in just a moment about why that matters. But the reason that I truly believe that I had that success in the first year when I started out was I went out. My very first day, I found Jennifer Anderson's video about the $10,000 paycheck. I hit that join button, and the very first video, the very first thing I did was I went to YouTube, I started searching Scentsy videos, and I found that video. I messaged my sponsor, Amanda, and I was like, oh my God, have you ever heard about this Jennifer girl? And she's like, yes, I know who Jennifer is. But that inspired me. Hearing that, I took it upon myself to go do the research and to find those videos. I also have a lot of business experience and background too, so I knew where to go to look. I knew how to really utilize Facebook. I knew about joining groups and creating Facebook groups and all of that. But I also understand that not everybody that's joining this business does have that experience. Not everybody has been in that type of a workforce environment before joining this business. I also understand that things are changing. We are so much reliant on a social media culture right now. And flat out, the honest to God truth is most people don't know how to use social media. I knew how to do it 5-10 years ago, but now I feel like an old lady at 36 years old. I don't know what I'm doing on social media anymore because it's always changing. There's things about it that are always changing. So the reason I'm talking about this is I actually had a conversation with my sponsor last night about this. And we go back and forth. We're always like, do we have to provide these programs as a leader? Should we have to provide these programs when it's out there, when those videos are out there, when those amazing Jennifer Anderson videos that I think she recorded 5, 6, maybe 7 years ago, they're still there. They're still just as good. Why aren't people looking for them? But the truth is that maybe people don't know how. Maybe you don't know how. If you're watching this, maybe you're going, I don't really know what keywords to look for, or what should I even type into YouTube? I don't know. There's so many groups, right? Scentsy's growing. Scentsy's getting huge. There's so many more consultants than there were when I first started. And there's a lot more groups out there too. When I first started, there was like a chunk of groups that my sponsor was like, here, join these. But now there's so many different ones, which is wonderful because we have such a giving community. But for somebody new, somebody joining, someone who's joined during the COVID chaos, where do you go? What do you do? Right? So the argument goes back and forth all the time is about it's out there. The basics are out there. How to party, how to elevate your PRV, how to sponsor, how to get those $10,000 paychecks, how to lead, how to create systems. They're all out there, but are they outdated? Are things still happening the same way they did before COVID? That's a question I keep asking all the time. Does partying look the same in a post-pandemic world that we're living in, which is crazy to even think about what we went through over the past couple of months. But does partying look different? I think it does. Does getting PRV look different? I think it does. Does prospecting and meeting new people, do you have to try different tips and tricks and try new things? I think it does. But at the same point, and on that same token, the purpose of this program is the fundamentals and the foundation of our business remains the same. So that's something I want you to remember through this entire thing. As we're going through this, through all these videos and all these different training topics, I want you to remember that. As time goes on, things are going to change. Things are going to evolve. You're going to notice that the way you used to party, it may not look the same way as it did 4 years ago. But does that mean that parties are dead? No, it doesn't. Sponsoring. Maybe sponsoring looks differently than it did 6 years ago, 3 years ago, hell, 2 years ago. If you were sponsoring like crazy during COVID, but now you can't, I hate to break it to you, sister or brother, guess what? A lot of that sponsoring may have come from the fact that everybody was stuck at home and they needed something to do. So now you're going to have to get creative. That doesn't mean you didn't do a good job then. It just means you're going to have to do something different now. Okay. So again, let me just reiterate that. I want you to keep that in the back of your mind through this entire program as we're walking through all of the different steps. And that is where the idea of this was born. I have tried for the past couple of years to create tons of different programs for my team to do everything in my power to help them succeed. But what it boils down to, and at 1:30 a.m. a couple of nights ago, where this idea came from was when I was trying, we've already developed, to give you a little backstory, we already developed a, it was called Destination Lead program. And the Destination Star program is coming up next. And I was talking with a friend and we're like, okay, what are we going to do? You know, here's our next steps to create this program. But I couldn't think of anything different, because what you should be doing to become a star consultant doesn't look any different than what you should be doing to become a lead consultant. What you're doing to become a superstar consultant, it's going to look the same. What you're doing to become a director, what I did to become a director before COVID, the exact same things. And they are the basics. It's always the same. You just have to elevate them. You may have to do a little bit more. You might have to get your systems a little bit more concrete, or you might have to revisit those basics, whatever it is. But regardless, at every promotion, with every major award, I've earned annual sales every single year since joining. And I've earned annual mentor 2 out of the 4, or 2, I guess, out of the 3 so far years. We're coming up on the 4th. Guess what? What I did then is the same thing I'm doing now. It's just elevated a little bit. It all comes back to the foundation of our business and getting back to the basics, period. The end. So enough blabbing. Let's chat about what those basics are. So I have 8 of them, and this is my opinion. This is just something that came from my brain. Your foundation, your back to basics, your fundamentals may be something totally different, and that's okay. But in this program, these are the 8 topics that we're going to be breaking down in no particular order. Let me mention that real fast too. So you may be watching this as a brand new consultant. This may be the first time seeing me if you're on my team, if you're on the Bomb Squad. This may be you just joined and you're diving into this and you're saying, how do I Sensi? How do I become a successful Sensi consultant? Okay. But you also may be watching this, hopefully people on my team or whoever in the community that ends up watching this, you've been around for a little while. Maybe you did join during COVID and you joined during a chaotic, crazy time, and we catapulted you into sling and wax, and you never really learned how to do any of these basics, right? You just said, hey, who wants to join my team? And people joined. There's more to sponsoring than that, right? Maybe you said, hey, I got some wax for sale. You're all home. Who wants some wax? And people bought it. Yeah, maybe that's probably not going to work anymore. You're going to have to do something a little bit more, right? So maybe you're coming to this program because you need a refresher. Maybe you need to go back and learn all the things that you skipped, okay? Maybe you are a veteran consultant and you've been around for a very long time and you just feel stuck. You feel like the things that used to work are not working anymore. You're missing something in your business. You're literally missing it and wishing that you could go back to that time, whatever it is, whatever the reason is. The thought and the theory behind this is that it should be able to apply to each and every person, because like I said earlier, no matter what goal you're going for, the basics, if we come back to it, should guide us through each step. Okay. So what are the basics? What are the back to basics foundation fundamentals of this business? In no particular order, the first one that I have is a strong why. And we're going to go through all of these in more depth in separate videos ahead, but I'm going to give you just a little teaser into each one. A strong why, that is figuring out why you are doing this business. Why are you here? Guess what? I hate to break it to you, sister. If you're doing it because you need money, that might be great. But what happens if you end up getting another job and you make great money? Is that going to be a strong enough why for you to stick around? Is it? That's for you to answer. Are you doing this because you are trying to get enough money to purchase land, let's say, or to purchase a house, a boat, or vacation, whatever it is? Okay, fine. You get that vacation, you go on it. Then what? Then what? Is that a strong enough why? If it is for you, awesome. It's going to be different for everybody. And again, we're going to dive way, way deeper into all of this in the individual videos in the future. But that's up to you. You have to decide that. What is your strong why in this business that's going to make you stick around when the going gets hard? It's going to make you get out of bed when that burnout happens in January and you're exhausted from the last 4 months that we've had. It's going to make you come back in a post-pandemic world and pick up that hustle. What is your why? And it needs to be strong. The second one, staying true to your brand. What's your story? Who's your audience? Who are you selling to? Yes, you're a Scentsy consultant, but what else are you? Are you the person who's giving home decor tips? Are you the person that, the busy baseball mama? Are you the busy baseball mama or soccer mom or whatever mom you are of your very busy sports child? How are you bringing fragrance into those people's lives and giving them a solution via fragrance? What we could go on and on. Who are you? What is your story? What is your brand? What are you telling people, and who are you trying to attract to you? Okay. The third one, prospecting and networking, two very different things. So just to give you a little definition of what those two things are, because people tend to mix these up quite a bit. Prospecting is the act of finding new contacts. Networking is the act of embracing that contact once it's made and it growing that relationship further. Okay. So think about networking events. That is when you will go and you will sometimes prospect while you're there and meet new people, but it's really about, a mixer and getting to know people and building that relationship. So prospecting, there's a list we're going to go over. We're going to dive deep into it, talk about all the nitty gritty. But that is important. I hate to break it to you, and I'm speaking loudly, so you're listening. Your friends and family are not your ideal customers. Period. That's it. They're not your ideal customers. I say this all the time, and I will continue to say it over and over again. If you are relying on your cousins and your sorority sisters and your aunt to be your customer base, and you think you're going to become a superstar director by doing that, you are not. That's all there is to it. Argue with me to the death about this, but I promise you, that's not who's going to make you successful. You need to be meeting new people. Okay. Customer service. How are you loving on your customers? So I'm going to mention follow up here, but I'm also going to mention it a little bit over in the PRV section as well. But follow up. If you're not doing follow up, you are missing out. Okay. That can look very different to a lot of different people. How are you reaching out to them? How are you checking in with them? How are you finding out how they're liking their order? How are you sending happy mail? How are you sending out samples? If you're not sampling, you're missing out. That is one of the biggest back to basics foundation fundamentals that you need to be doing. We are in the fragrance industry. If you are sitting at home and you are not getting the scents out under their noses, What is going to make them purchase the product? If they smell it, you will sell it. Remember that, okay? So customer service, what does that look like? How are you loving on your customers? Sponsoring. So this is one that is very difficult for most people. That is the question that during a training program, RRR, that I run, it is the most requested topic time and time again, especially for people who have joined over the past couple of years, because like I mentioned earlier, what once worked by saying, hey, I got a free kit, who wants to join? That doesn't work all the time anymore. And to be totally honest, it never really did work for me, right? Sponsoring. It has to do with prospecting. If you don't have enough people to ask, then guess what? When we get a $25 join special and you go, well, I already asked all the people that I could think of, and it's only been 2 months, I'm not going to ask them again. Guess what? You're not meeting enough people. Okay. How do we sponsor? How do we make that ask? How do we get more comfortable with hearing the word no? All of those things, sponsoring, it is part of the basics. It is it is the core of our business. Now, you have a choice. You don't have to sponsor, and that's okay. But you have to be accepting of the fact that if you do not sponsor and if you choose not to lead a team, that you will always be a certified consultant. And that's okay if that's a choice that you're willing to make. But for other people who are wanting more, who are wanting a bigger paycheck, that is the business that we are in. Opening up your doors to the community of the people who could join your team and finding a love of leadership. Okay. Sponsoring can be wonderful. It doesn't have to be icky. And we're going to dive really, really deep into that topic. And I'm really excited to talk about that when we get to that week. Okay, leadership. So I mentioned Jennifer Anderson. Clearly, I look up to her a lot in this business. She is like the person I go to when I'm needing a little bit of reassurance and watching her videos and like reminding of how to do things. And I was able to listen to her speak this past summer at SFR in Salt Lake City. And what her topic was about was and I'm probably going to mix up the order of this, but it was about knowing the way, going the way, and showing the way with leadership. So what that means, to condense it a little bit, is in order to be a successful leader, so also sponsoring and leading, two very different things. You can sponsor all day long. Guess what? You go out and you get 50 people to join your team. Great. How are you helping them? How are you helping them succeed? Because that is part of your responsibility. Don't you dare go out and ask a bunch of people to join your team if you're not ready to help them become successful. That doesn't mean to do their job for them. And I'm going to preach to the choir a little bit about that when we go to that video of leadership. They are independent consultants, but you're there to love on them. And that, in my opinion, is the number one most successful and most important thing, or most important, not most successful, most important things that you can do as a leader to make them have success. Love on them, show up for them, be there for them. Okay. So know the way. You need to understand, you need to be knowledgeable of this business. You need to go the way yourself. So if you're not sponsoring, why would your team sponsor? If you are not having high PRV, why would your team have high PRV? If you are not doing home parties, why would your team have home parties? You have to be going the way yourself in order for them to do it too, because they will see what you're doing and then want to do it, which leads me to the next one, which is show the way. Post in your VIP group, your group message, whatever it is, about showing the way. Okay. So know, go, show. Remember those three things. We're going to dive deeper into leadership as a whole. And again, it can be amazing if you do it the right way. Okay. Elevating your PRV. So PRV in general, obviously, is one of the biggest basics. But I put elevate your PRV on there because I really wanted to include a lot of ways where people personalize this business. PRV in general, though, is the basic. It is the basic of this business. It is something that if you don't want to sell, then you don't need to join this company. You do not need to be a Scentsy consultant if you do not want to sell Scentsy, period. That's it, right? Even if you don't want to sponsor, that's fine. There's plenty of people out there that maybe choose not to sponsor, but you have to sell. That's what we're doing here. But how do we elevate that? How do we take it one notch up? That is up to you. from doing scent crates, advent calendars, mystery bags, fun Valentine's Day baskets. There's tons of different ways that you can do that. And again, we're going to talk about that in more detail when we get to that video. But PRV, getting sales, how to increase it year over year, that's the goal. That's what we want to go for. And that is one of the basics and the core foundation and fundamentals of this business is having good PRV. Okay. And the last one is systems. Now that one is in a very specific order. That is last, that should be last, that should be the last one that you visit and that you always go to, because your system is everything that I mentioned just before this in a solid system that you repeat. Okay. A system is only good if you use it though. I could sit here and type out 50 gorgeous, beautiful things and put little graphics on it and put it up on my wall. And guess what? If I don't touch it, it's not going to work. That is, you have to know yourself too. That's why I don't use dry erase boards. I've been given dry erase boards as gifts. And guess what? They sit there and they collect dust, and that's literally all they do. I write something on January when I'm, drinking my protein shakes and, new year, new me. And then by like February 1st, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. It is what it is. I don't care. I don't care if that's impressive to anybody else. It's the truth. And you have to be honest with yourself. If you're not someone who's going to use a Trello board, if that's something that you're never going to keep up with, do not do it. Don't do it if you're not going to use it. If you are a pen and paper girl and you like your old school binders that you put a 3-ring hole punch in and you put in your binders and you label it and all that stuff, do it. It doesn't matter what it looks like, but the system has to be all of these things in this checklist on a repeatable schedule somewhere, whatever works for you, so that you remember to do it constantly. Okay. So those are the 8 topics. This is the stuff checklist. I'll be showing this to you guys throughout this program. But this is what you should always come back to. Okay. Again, if you're a brand new baby consultant, which welcome if you are, if you have been in this business for a while, if you've been in this business for a long time, it doesn't matter. All of us need to be focusing on the basics. Okay. There's a lot of other things that we can do in this business to elevate it, to take it further. If you've been around a long time and you're, have all this stuff down pat and you want to keep going, that's fine. But if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling like you're not progressing, if you're feeling like you're going down even, which I know a lot of people just experienced with this paycheck that we just got. I've been seeing posts and hearing people talk like, oh my gosh, that December paycheck was the worst I've ever seen. We're in a dip that a lot of people are talking about, but this, hopefully, if you focus on that and remember to get back to the basics, we can get out of that dip and get back on track to where we need to be. I'm so excited to go through these next few weeks with y'all and talk about all of this in depth. If anybody has any questions, you're always more than welcome to reach out to me. All of these videos will be available on my YouTube channel. And I'm excited about this. I hope you guys are too. And I will talk to y'all soon.